Hollywood loves to shine. But behind the red carpets and flashing cameras lies a world of secrets they'd rather you never know. From mysterious deaths, forbidden affairs, to cover-ups that silenced victims and protected the powerful, these are the scandals that even Hollywood's best PR teams couldn't bury. Fame couldn't save them. Money couldn't hide them. These 25 horrifying stories exposed the dark truth behind the glamour and changed Tinseltown forever. Stay tuned, because the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Jean Harlow's forced marriage and secret heartbreak. Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell, was Hollywood's golden girl. But behind her sparkling smile was a life controlled by scandal and studio politics. At just 15, Harlow was forced into a marriage that quickly ended in divorce. It was only the beginning of a series of personal tragedies. Her second husband died mysteriously from a gunshot wound, sparking whispers that Harlow knew more than she let on. The press circled, but MGM moved fast to silence the rumors. When Harlow's affair with a married boxer hit the tabloids, her image as America's sweetheart was at risk. To save her career, the studio arranged a fake marriage with cinematographer Harold Rawson, a union purely for appearances. As one insider put it wasn't love, it was damage control. The marriage ended quietly after just a few months, but the toll on Harlow was deep. Her real heartbreak came when she fell in love with actor William Powell. She dreamed of leaving Hollywood behind to start a family, but Powell wasn't ready for marriage or children. When Harlow became pregnant, she was trapped. Unwed mothers were seen as career poison in 1930s Hollywood, and Powell made it clear he wasn't on board. Under pressure from both Powell and MGM, Harlow secretly had an abortion, a painful decision she could never speak about publicly. Jean Harlow's glamorous life was a carefully crafted illusion. Behind the cameras, she was a young woman forced to sacrifice love, motherhood, and personal happiness to maintain a spotless image. Her story is a chilling example of how Hollywood controlled its stars, covering up private pain to sell a perfect fantasy. While Jean Harlow's scandals were hidden behind studio walls, another star's fall from grace played out in public, and it nearly destroyed Hollywood itself. When Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was accused of a shocking crime, the industry scrambled to survive its first major scandal. Fatty Arbuckle, the scandal that invented Hollywood censorship. In 1921, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, a beloved comedic actor whose films filled theaters. But everything changed during a wild Labor Day party in San Francisco. When actress Virginia Rappi was found seriously ill after the party and later died, Arbuckle was accused of assaulting her. The headlines were brutal. As one paper screamed, "Hollywood star in shameful crime!" The public was outraged. Arbuckle became the face of Hollywood's so-called moral decay. His arrest marked the first time a celebrity scandal dominated national news, and it set off a media frenzy. Over 3 trials, Arbuckle faced endless scrutiny. Though the first 2 trials ended in hung juries, and he was finally acquitted in the third, with the jury even issuing an apology, the damage was already done. His career was over. Hollywood panicked. Studios feared that if stars like Arbuckle could fall so far, so publicly, the entire industry could collapse under moral outrage. In response, Hollywood introduced strict moral guidelines to control both films and actors, the beginnings of what became the Hays Code. Arbuckle's scandal wasn't just personal. It changed Hollywood forever. Though Arbuckle was legally cleared, he was blacklisted. His films were banned, and his name erased from marquees. The man who once made millions laugh became a symbol of shame. Fatty Arbuckle's downfall showed that, in Hollywood, one scandal could end a career and force an entire industry to cover its tracks. If Fatty Arbuckle's case proved that fame offered no protection from scandal, Hollywood would soon face a darker, more chilling story. one that involved murder, mystery, and a city desperate to hide its secrets. The tragic death of Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, would haunt Hollywood forever. The Black Dahlia murder, Hollywood's darkest mystery. On January 15, 1947, Los Angeles woke up to a nightmare. The mutilated body of 22-year-old aspiring actress Elizabeth Short was found in a vacant lot, her body bisected, her face slashed into a grim smile. The press quickly gave her a name that would become infamous: the Black Dahlia. One reporter described it as the most gruesome crime Hollywood has ever seen. Elizabeth Short had come to Hollywood chasing dreams, but after her death, the media painted her as a femme fatale, twisting her life story into something scandalous. Rumors spread about her alleged affairs with powerful Hollywood men. Whether true or not, these stories fed a narrative that blamed the victim and distracted from finding her killer. Police investigations were hampered by sensational headlines and public hysteria. Dozens of suspects were questioned, including doctors, businessmen, and even people connected to the film industry. But no charges were ever filed. Behind the scenes, studios worked hard to distance themselves from the case, terrified that any link between their stars and the murder would spark another industry-wide scandal. To this day, the Black Dahlia murder remains unsolved. It became less about justice and more about protecting reputations. Elizabeth Short's tragic death was overshadowed by Hollywood's efforts to bury the truth and move on. The case stands as a haunting reminder of how quickly dreams could turn into nightmares in Tinseltown. As Hollywood tried to erase the horrors of the Black Dahlia, another star was being destroyed, not by murder, but by the very studio that made her famous. Judy Garland's story wasn't about a single scandal. It was about a lifetime of suffering hidden behind a curtain of fame. Judy Garland, the studio's greatest tragedy. Judy Garland may have been America's sweetheart on screen, but behind the scenes, she was a victim of one of Hollywood's darkest systems. Signed by MGM at just 13, Garland was quickly transformed into a star, but at a devastating cost. The studio controlled every part of her life, from her appearance to her health. As one former MGM employee admitted, they treated her like property, not a person. To keep Judy looking slim for the camera, MGM forced her onto extreme diets, sometimes feeding her little more than soup and pills. When long filming hours left her exhausted, the studio provided amphetamines to keep her awake, then barbiturates to force her to sleep. This dangerous cycle of drugs, introduced when she was still a teenager, sparked a lifelong battle with addiction. While audiences saw a cheerful, vibrant young star in The Wizard of Oz, Garland was privately battling anxiety, depression, and crushing pressure. Every smile she gave was carefully manufactured by a studio desperate to maintain her image. The more she struggled, the tighter MGM's grip became. By the time Judy reached adulthood, the damage was done. Her mental health was shattered, and her addiction issues became public knowledge. Yet Hollywood tried to cover its role in creating her downfall. Judy Garland's tragic story isn't just about personal demons, it's about an industry that exploited a child for profit and left her to face the consequences alone. While Judy Garland's pain was hidden behind closed doors, another scandal played out on the world stage. Ingrid Bergman's fall from grace wasn't about addiction. It was about love, betrayal, and a romance that shocked Hollywood to its core. Ingrid Bergman's affair that shamed Hollywood. Ingrid Bergman was once the picture of perfection, Hollywood's symbol of grace, talent, and moral virtue. But in 1949, her carefully crafted image came crashing down when she began a passionate affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. The problem? Both were married to other people. As one senator famously declared, Ingrid Bergman has become a powerful influence for evil. When Bergman became pregnant with Rossellini's child, the scandal erupted worldwide. Fans felt betrayed, critics lashed out, and even the U.S. Senate condemned her behavior. Hollywood, fearing backlash, quickly distanced itself from the star who had once been its golden girl. Bergman was effectively blacklisted, exiled from American cinema for 7 years. But Ingrid didn't disappear. She continued working in Europe, collaborating with Rossellini, and proving that her talent couldn't be silenced by scandal. In 1956, she made a triumphant return to Hollywood with Anastasia, earning an Academy Award and reclaiming her place among cinema's legends. Bergman's story is one of resilience, but it also exposed Hollywood's hypocrisy. The same industry that celebrated on-screen romance was quick to destroy a woman for following her heart in real life. Her fall and rise showed just how fragile fame could be when morality was weaponized. While Ingrid Bergman was punished for love, another woman in Hollywood faced something far more sinister: obsession. When Alfred Hitchcock fixated on Tippi Hedren, it wasn't just a director guiding his star. It became one of the most disturbing abuses of power in film history. Alfred Hitchcock's obsession, that, destroyed Tippi Hedren. Alfred Hitchcock was known as the master of suspense, but behind the camera, he became a master of manipulation. His obsession with actress Tippi Hedren, whom he cast in The Birds, went far beyond professional interest. As Hedren later revealed, it wasn't admiration, it was control. After discovering Hedren, Hitchcock signed her to a strict contract, effectively owning her career. On set, he isolated her from cast and crew, spread false rumors, and made relentless, unwanted advances. When Hedren rejected him, Hitchcock's behavior turned cruel. In one infamous scene, he replaced mechanical birds with live ones, tying them to Hedren and forcing her to endure days of real attacks, leaving her physically and emotionally scarred. When she finally stood up to him, calling him a fat pig, Hitchcock didn't just fire her, he made sure no other director could hire her. Though Hedren won awards for her performances, her career never recovered. Hitchcock's revenge was complete. For years, Hollywood stayed silent, protecting Hitchcock's reputation as a genius director. But Tippi Hedren's story later exposed the dark truth about power, control, and the price actresses paid for rejecting unwanted attention. It was a scandal hidden in plain sight, and one Hollywood didn't want anyone to know. As Tippi Hedren's career was quietly sabotaged, another scandal was brewing, this time aboard a luxury yacht, involving Hollywood's most powerful man and a mysterious death. The case of William Randolph Hearst and Thomas Ince would become one of Tinseltown's most whispered secrets. William Randolph Hearst and the yacht murder mystery. In 1924, Hollywood's elite boarded William Randolph Hearst's private yacht for what was supposed to be a glamorous getaway. But by the end of that trip, one man was dead, and the truth was buried at sea. Producer Thomas Ince, known as the father of the Western, mysteriously died after falling ill on board. The official story? Heart failure. But whispers told a darker tale. As one insider put it, no one believes Ince just got sick. Rumors spread that Hearst, suspecting an affair between his mistress Marion Davies and Charlie Chaplin, tried to shoot Chaplin in a jealous rage, but accidentally shot Ince instead. The fact that Ince's body was swiftly cremated only fueled suspicions. A secretary reportedly saw Ince bleeding from a head wound, but her story vanished just as quickly as Ince did. Hearst, one of the most powerful men in America, used his media empire to shut down any talk of murder. Hollywood, terrified of crossing him, played along. The guests kept quiet, and the press printed exactly what Hearst wanted. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened on that yacht. The mysterious death of Thomas Ince became one of Hollywood's earliest and most effective cover-ups. It showed just how easily the rich and powerful could rewrite reality when scandal threatened their world. While Hearst's influence silenced a potential murder scandal, some stories were too shocking to hide, especially when they involved love, family, and broken taboos. Gloria Graham's marriage didn't just raise eyebrows, it rocked Hollywood with a scandal no studio could spin. Gloria Graham's scandalous marriage to her stepson. In 1960, Oscar-winning actress Gloria Graham shocked Hollywood when she married Anthony Ray, her former stepson. Anthony was the son of Graham's ex-husband, director Nicholas Ray, making the relationship one of the most controversial love stories in Hollywood history. As one headline screamed, "A star's wedding that defies decency," rumors swirled that Graham and Anthony's relationship began while she was still married to his father, adding fuel to the scandal. When their marriage became public, the backlash was immediate and brutal. The press painted Graham as immoral, and public opinion turned against her. Hollywood, always eager to protect its wholesome image, distanced itself from the actress who had once been a rising star. Though Graham tried to continue her career, the scandal followed her everywhere. Roles dried up, and she became more known for her personal life than her talent. Despite the controversy, her marriage to Anthony lasted for years, but professionally, the damage was done. Gloria Graham's story is a reminder of how quickly Hollywood could turn on its own. One unconventional relationship overshadowed an entire career, proving that fame offered no protection when moral outrage took center stage. While Gloria Graham's scandal was born from forbidden love, Charlie Chaplin's controversies came from a pattern that even Hollywood struggled to defend. His genius made him untouchable, but his relationships with teenage girls nearly destroyed him. Charlie Chaplin's forbidden romances and public shame. Charlie Chaplin, the beloved silent film icon, was known for making the world laugh, but his personal life was no laughing matter. Throughout his career, Chaplin developed a troubling pattern: relationships with teenage girls. As one critic later said, behind the little tramp's smile was a man Hollywood kept excusing. At 29, Chaplin married 16-year-old Mildred Harris after she became pregnant, a union that ended in a bitter divorce. Later, he married 16-year-old Lita Gray under similar circumstances. Their split became one of the most scandalous divorces in Hollywood history, with court documents detailing Chaplin's controlling behavior and affairs splashed across newspapers. Despite these public scandals, studios worked hard to protect Chaplin's reputation, knowing he was a box office goldmine. But his final controversy came when, at 54, he married 18-year-old Una O'Neill. Though their marriage lasted until his death, the age gap reignited public criticism. Eventually, Chaplin's political views and personal life caught up with him. Accused of being a communist sympathizer and morally corrupt, he was effectively exiled from the U.S. in the 1950s. Hollywood could no longer shield him. Charlie Chaplin's legacy as a cinematic genius remains intact, but his private life tells a more complicated story, one of power, controversy, and a Hollywood system willing to look the other way until it no longer could. As Chaplin faced exile, another Hollywood hero met a far more tragic fate. George Reeves was known to millions as Superman, but his mysterious death would reveal how even the mightiest icons could fall and how Hollywood rushed to hide the truth. George Reeves. In the 1950s, George Reeves was a hero to millions, playing Superman on television. But in 1959, the man known as the Man of Steel was found dead in his home from a gunshot wound to the head. The official story: suicide. But almost immediately, questions arose. As one friend said, George wasn't Superman, but he wasn't the type to give up either. There were no fingerprints on the gun. Reeves had guests in his house that night, and their stories didn't match. Some claimed to hear gunshots long after Reeves was last seen alive. Theories of foul play spread quickly, especially considering Reeves's complicated personal life, including a long affair with the wife of a powerful Hollywood executive. Warner Brothers and others tied to the Superman franchise moved fast to contain the fallout. They framed the tragedy as a personal struggle, focusing on Reeves's frustrations with being typecast. The goal was simple: protect the Superman brand and avoid dragging Hollywood's elite into a messy investigation. Despite decades of speculation, the truth behind George Reeves's death remains hidden in shadows. Was it suicide, an accident, or something more sinister? We may never know, but Hollywood's rush to bury the scandal speaks volumes about what they were desperate to protect. As Hollywood tried to erase the mystery of Superman's death, another star was dominating headlines not for her acting, but for her love life. Elizabeth Taylor's string of marriages became a public obsession, and one affair nearly destroyed her career. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor wasn't just a Hollywood star, she was the star. But by the late 1950s, her personal life was making more news than her movies. Married 8 times to 7 men, Taylor's romances blurred the line between private love and public scandal. As one gossip columnist put it, Liz collects husbands like Oscars. Her most infamous scandal erupted when she began an affair with singer Eddie Fisher, who was married to America's sweetheart, Debbie Reynolds. The betrayal shocked fans worldwide. Fisher divorced Reynolds to marry Taylor, and the press labeled Elizabeth a homewrecker. Studios panicked, fearing the backlash would sink her box office draw. But Hollywood wasn't ready to give up on its most bankable star. PR teams worked overtime to spin the story, painting Taylor as a woman searching for true love rather than a temptress. Even so, the scandal stuck with her. Years later, her 2 stormy marriages to actor Richard Burton, both beginning while they were married to other people, kept her in the headlines. Yet, despite the controversies, Elizabeth Taylor's talent always pulled her back into favor. Her life became a soap opera the world couldn't stop watching. And while Hollywood tried to manage the narrative, Taylor proved she didn't need saving. She would own her scandals and remain a legend on her own terms. While Elizabeth Taylor's scandals were splashed across tabloids, one actress took her battle off screen and strayed into the courtroom. Olivia de Havilland's fight against Warner Brothers didn't just shake Hollywood, it changed the industry forever. Olivia de Havilland versus Warner Brothers. In the 1940s, studios owned their stars, or so they thought. Olivia de Havilland, best known for Gone with the Wind, decided to challenge that system. Trapped in a restrictive contract with Warner Brothers, she was tired of being typecast and controlled. When the studio tried to extend her contract unfairly, de Havilland took them to court. As she boldly said, "I refuse to be a slave to the system." At the time, no one dared to stand up to the studios. They held all the power, controlling careers, roles, and even personal lives. Hollywood insiders warned Olivia that defiance would end her career, but she pushed forward, arguing that California law prevented personal service contracts from lasting more than 7 years. In 1945, de Havilland won. The landmark ruling, known as the de Havilland Law, gave actors freedom from oppressive contracts. The studios were furious, but the damage was done. Olivia didn't just win her case, she cracked the foundation of the studio system. Hollywood tried to downplay the victory, fearing a wave of rebellious stars. But her courage inspired others to demand better treatment and control over their careers. Olivia de Havilland became not just a star, but a symbol of independence in an industry built on control. As Olivia de Havilland rewrote Hollywood's rules, another star's story came to a tragic and mysterious end. Marilyn Monroe's death wasn't just a loss. It became one of the most haunting scandals Hollywood has ever tried to explain away. Marilyn Monroe. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home, a bottle of pills by her side and a phone in her hand. The official cause? A probable suicide. But for decades, that explanation has been met with doubt. As one reporter famously said, "Nobody believed Marilyn's story ended like that. Too neat, too quiet for a woman whose life was anything but." Marilyn wasn't just a star. She was a symbol of beauty, fame, and vulnerability. Behind her glamorous image, she battled depression, addiction, and the pressures of being Hollywood's most desired woman. But what truly fueled the mystery was her rumored involvement with President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Robert. Some believe Marilyn knew too much, political secrets that powerful men couldn't afford to let slip. Others point fingers at the mafia, or even close friends and doctors who may have covered up the real cause of her death. Bruises found on her body, the missing phone records, and the delayed call to authorities only deepened suspicion. Hollywood quickly stepped in to control the narrative, painting Monroe as a tragic, fragile figure undone by fame. But whispers of conspiracy never died. Marilyn Monroe's passing wasn't just a personal tragedy, it became a symbol of how Hollywood and power could twist a life, and perhaps end it when it became too inconvenient. While Marilyn's death sparked endless theories, another scandal revealed the dark side of Hollywood's social circles, a meeting between Walt Disney and a filmmaker linked to one of history's greatest evils. Walt Disney's controversial meeting with Leni Riefenstahl. In 1938, Walt Disney, the man behind Mickey Mouse and wholesome family entertainment, made a decision that would later cast a long shadow over his legacy. He welcomed Leni Riefenstahl, Adolf Hitler's personal filmmaker, to tour his studio. At the time, Riefenstahl was infamous for directing Nazi propaganda films. As one critic later remarked, "Entertaining evil is still entertaining evil." The meeting came just weeks after Kristallnacht, the violent Nazi attack on Jewish communities. While many in Hollywood, especially its large Jewish community, refused to meet with Riefenstahl, Disney chose to offer her hospitality. Though America hadn't yet entered World War II, anti-Nazi sentiment was already growing, making Disney's decision deeply controversial. Disney kept the meeting quiet, but word eventually leaked. Over time, this encounter became a stain on his carefully managed image. Some argued that Disney was simply being polite to a visiting filmmaker, but others saw it as a shocking lapse in judgment, or worse, a sign of sympathies better left unexplored. While Disney's empire continued to grow, this dark footnote in his history serves as a reminder that even the most beloved figures in Hollywood weren't immune to scandal, especially when politics and power crossed dangerous lines. As Disney's meeting faded into uncomfortable whispers, another scandal would capture headlines and never let go. Natalie Wood's mysterious death wasn't just a tragic accident, it became one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved cases. Natalie Wood's mysterious death. On a cold November night in 1981, actress Natalie Wood vanished from her yacht off California's Catalina Island. Hours later, her body was found floating in the water. The official story claimed she slipped and drowned, but few believed it was that simple. As a close friend said, Natalie was terrified of dark water. She wouldn't have gone near it alone. Natalie had been aboard with her husband, actor Robert Wagner, and co-star Christopher Walken. Reports of a heated argument between Wagner and Wood that night quickly surfaced. The yacht's captain later admitted he had lied during the original investigation, claiming Wagner had been involved in a fight with Natalie before she disappeared. Her autopsy revealed unexplained bruises, and inconsistencies in witness statements only fueled suspicion. In 2011, the case was reopened, and Wagner was named a person of interest, but no charges were ever filed. Hollywood worked hard to keep the scandal quiet, eager to avoid tarnishing the names involved. But Natalie Wood's death remains an open wound in Hollywood lore. A chilling reminder that beneath the surface of fame, some secrets are too dark to stay hidden forever. From mysterious deaths to dangerous affairs, these scandals reveal a Hollywood far removed from the glitz and glamour we see on screen. And as we dig deeper, the stories only get darker, exposing an industry built on secrets, silence, and survival. As the credits roll on these shocking scandals, one thing is clear. Hollywood's golden glow has always hidden shadows. These stories weren't just gossip. They were lives ruined, mysteries unsolved, and truths twisted to protect power. Which scandal shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by the untold stories behind fame and fortune, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more dark tales from behind the scenes. Thanks for watching. Because in Hollywood, the real drama always happens off-screen.